Performing Arts Studio West presents Meet the Biz with David Zimmerman. Special guest Laurel Lawson. With Anise Bullock, Caleb Hansen, Devon Morgan, Manajay Oliai, Mark Pulver, Ranjani Reyes, and Matthew Selden. And ASL interpreter Mona Jean Cedar. Kinetic Light.
Hovering just above the ground in her wheelchair by an aerial point, a white dancer, Laurel, launches into spins with her hand. The crew sets up.
We are doing this because we have faith and trust and love for each other.
A black sign language interpreter, Brandon. Alice, a black dancer in a wheelchair, soars. Jaron, a black dancer, traces circles in flight. A duet midair, Alice and Laurel spin. By the sea, the three dancers each smile directly into the camera. Back in a large dance studio, a panel of opaque windows. Each dancer explores stillness and movement with aerial cables, rehearsing on different days, rolling slowly, holding, arching backward, head nearly touching the ground, twisting high in the air, bouncing, a spider drawn up into its web, an unhurried turn on one foot, gleeful spinning. Laurel and Alice floating, clasp arms, pull in, push away, and float out of view. 1+1 Makes 3 featuring Kinetic Light, directed by Catherine Helen Fisher. Past, present, future, with captions, ASL, audio description, allarts.org, at allartstv.
Welcome to Meet the Biz. I'm very excited today because we have a woman here who is full of light, and we're going to talk more with her in a moment. But before we do that, right next to me, we have the wonderful Mona Jean Cedar, who you all know, our ASL interpreter. Thank you, Mona. Thank you. Well, I want to just say that this woman I met through a friend of ours, Terry Hartman Squire, and this woman, Laurel Lawson. She's a choreographer, a collaborator, a dancer, a designer, an engineer. She does costume, she does makeup. She creates with Alice Shepard, who is the artistic director of Kinetic Light. I love that name, Kinetic Light. Right now, here she is, Laurel Lawson. Laurel Lawson, and we have all of our friends here today. Hello, Laurel. How are you?
I'm doing great. And how are you, David?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing wonderful. And thank you for coming today. We have a bunch of our students for Performing Arts Studio West, actors, performers here today, and they'll be joining to in the Q&A and asking questions. I wanted to start with, first of all, I love your background. Yes. And where are you located right now?
Right now, I am in the beautiful city in the forest, Atlanta. I will very, very shortly be back in our current, this month working home of San Francisco. That would be, of course, the city by the bay. Any more good city names we can get in?
I have to say, I didn't know you. How did I not know it was San Francisco? Of course it's San Francisco. You know, I'm in the Bay Area right now. So I'm going to have to come see you all. This is amazing what you do. I mean, you create work for all ensembles, including non-disabled, disabled, physically integrated people. What sparked you into doing something like this?
I became a dancer. I became a professional dancer in 2004. Of course, growing up as a wheelchair user, I am disabled from birth. So dance was never really put out there as an option. So I trained in music and theater, in design, went to school in engineering and design, and became a dancer initially with Full Radius Dance, based right here in Atlanta. And yes, in my personal choreographic practice, I work with a lot of mythology. I do a lot of uh, work with those archetypes and those deep stories. Those things that uh, are going to resonate with a lot of audiences. We've all read the manuals, we all know what the hero's journey is. So picking out those strings and seeing how that can be made to resonate with different performers and different audiences and different nuances to the story. So yes, I have choreographed for of course for disabled dancers as a technician and teacher for dancers using manual wheelchairs, uh, as well as disabled dancers and other embodiments, for non-disabled dancers, for physically integrated ensembles. And with Kinetic Light, we focus on disability arts, productions, evening length multidisciplinary productions in which all the performers, all the lead creative positions are disabled artists.
Oh, this is wonderful. This is wonderful. And I love how, you were talking about it. It feels so ethereal, creative, and it's such a perfect place in the San Francisco Bay Area to have this. Did you grow up across the country and then come to San Francisco?
I actually am still based in Atlanta. I'm an Atlanta native, and this is home base. But Kinetic Light is truly a national company. So the company works largely really out of New York. In this pandemic time, we have been all working out of San Francisco. We were very fortunate to receive support since as dancers, of course, doing on-site work, doing partnering, it was not possible for us to continue the work we were making without being physically together. So we were very fortunate to be able to have the support to quarantine and create a bubble structure for the company, which, for people who've been on tour, this is tour to the next level of intensity, because we're not only living and working together, but there is no outside.
Right.
Everything, it's all togetherness all the time.
Yeah.
But our lighting and projection designer, Michael Mag, is in Oregon, the resident lighting designer at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And our artists and our crew come from all over the country, every corner. So yeah, Kinetic Light is truly a national company, and the first major professional company in the US comprised solely of disabled artists.
This is sounds amazing. I want to keep on asking questions. I have all these questions in my mind to ask you, but we have this amazing group of artists. So I'm going to bring them on one by one, and we're going to start with Anise Bullock, who is such a talented artist herself. And here is Anise Bullock. Hello, Anise.
Hello. Hello. Nice to meet you. I have a question. Usually dancers, they start off in a different way. For me, I started off, of me being a dancer, I started off watching Barbie movies, and that helped me went through to now. I have a question for you. How did you start it off of being a dancer?
So I mentioned that I trained primarily in music and in theater as I was growing up. Um, I trained pretty intensively. My plan at one point actually been to go to conservatory for a music degree. So I had a lot of the theatrical skill and the musical skill, and I'm also an athlete. Uh, so while I picked up some dance, of course, from doing musicals, um, of course, most choreographers had no idea what to do with me other than, get me to the front for my solo and then try to get me out of the way of the chorus. And as a child and as a teenager, I didn't know any better. So I began taking dance classes. I began taking modern and contemporary dance um, while I was still in college. And training initially with Douglas Scott, who is the artistic director of Full Radius Dance. And, after some time, he invited me to audition for the company. And that was my first dance job many years ago.
I love it. And what a great question. Thank you, Anise. Thank you.
Welcome.
I tell you, this is just before we get the next person who's going to come on and ask a question. Can anybody join this company? Is it joinable, or is it more for us to go watch the performances?
So Kinetic Light is working as a full-time company. So at this point, artists would need to be ready to work at a professional level to be able to travel and live in residency and on tour with us. At this time, the company is very small. We're not casting dancers. We're not casting musicians. We do collaborate with a lot of people. So that is something that is out there, and we have a lot of things on the horizon in terms of workshops, fellowship opportunities. A great deal of what we're doing is about elevating the profiles of disabled people, not just on stage, but off stage. The talented designers, technicians, camera people, directors, video editors, musicians and composers and sound engineers, audio describers, interpreters. So, people pay a lot of attention to who is on stage, but everyone who's not on stage is at least as important. And that's really a huge focus for us right now. So we're working to build out programs to be able to collaborate with people as quickly as possible.
This is great. This is great. And and is there a time you think that there might be open auditions at a time, or right now it's focused on all these different possibilities that you mentioned?
Right now I couldn't even begin to answer that question.
Right.
We are, right now we are making our next work called Wired.
Oh.
So we are headed into the studio and hard at work to make that piece, to complete the choreography, the design. We have a solid chunk of time allotted later this year for adding the projections and bringing everything together on that. So the company's focus right now is on making and completing that piece.
Nice.
And you may have seen just a little bit of that in 1+1 Make 3, which is not about Wired. It's not even about the making of Wired as a piece. It really is just that little moment. It's a snapshot of our process in the studio. But that did show you some of the aerial work and some little snippets, not of the choreography, but of the choreographic exploration that we're currently working on.
Oh, beautiful.
So I can say that that is where we are this year, and we're working on, in the next year, among other things, we'll be touring that work as well as our previous work, Descent, and other pieces.
I love it. We have Caleb Hansen now, who would like to come on and ask a question. Caleb, hi.
Hi. Well, my question is, did you dance when you were a child?
Yeah, did you dance as a child?
I did not. I have been disabled from birth, Caleb. So I got my first wheelchair when I was 4.5 years old, and at that time, uh, dance for disabled children simply was not a thing. It's starting to change a little bit now, and one of my particular interests, we have hundreds of studios now that want to offer inclusive dance classes. And I don't particularly care for the term inclusive because it's hierarchical. When, when someone is being included, that means someone is doing the including. And there's a weird power dynamic there. I think both people should be equal. I think both people should have equal access. So, a lot of the times, what we get with these inclusive classes is that you have a teacher who only knows how to teach non-disabled children, and here's a child, who might use a wheelchair or who might use crutches or who might have a cognitive disability or who might have a sensory disability, and they don't know how to teach this child because we don't need to learn exactly the same things. For example, if you go to a ballet class, everyone's doing exactly the same thing. Well, maybe we need to learn something a little bit different. So one of the things I'm personally working on is making sure that we have teachers who know how and what we need to learn, because we deserve teachers who can teach correctly. For all of us who want to go into working professionally, we need and deserve that quality of instruction, rather than just, yeah, you can come to class and maybe you'll learn something, but it doesn't really matter because you're not going to be a professional anyway. No, that's not right, and that's not fair, is it?
Good question, Caleb. Good question.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. Next, we have the wonderful Ranjani Reyes. Ranjani.
I'm here. My question is, I'm a dancer for young people. Who inspired you being a great dancer in the company, and why?
Oh gosh. You had to come up with one of the hard ones, Ranjani.
Yeah, I think I'm a dancer. I'm a young dancer with disability. So, what's a good advice for young dancers too?
Um, let's see. Advice for young dancers. Well, one thing is that nothing you learn will ever go to waste. You know, it may
Okay.
seem like if you're learning something in school, or maybe you're learning something in dance class that doesn't immediately seem relevant, someday, somewhere, that information is going to come in handy. Um, I remember the very first time I was sitting and watching a ballet class. And of course, I'm bored out of my skull, you know, as a young student, because it's like, you know, I want to be in the class. I don't want to be watching the class.
Yeah.
But and it is, of course, entirely possible for any of us to study ballet. Uh, but one of the things that's important for me now when I'm working with non-disabled dancers, or with any standing dancer, it's absolutely critical that I understand and can work with ballet and ballet terminology, because you know, I can't jump up from my wheelchair and show them what I want them to do. I have to be able to imagine it in my head and then talk them through it. I mean, you can kind of do it like this, but
Oh yeah.
but it looks a little silly, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
plie, plie.
Yeah, I was about late when it too.
Right. So, you know, just as one example of, you know, anything you might have the opportunity to learn, even if you don't think it's very useful for you, take the opportunity and learn it, because someday, you know, it might be 30 years from now, but someday you will use it.
That's a good advice. I like that.
I love that. These are really great questions. Thank you for that, Laurel. That was, it's, I'm so glad we're doing this. I'm so glad we're doing
Me
this.
too.
Let's see who we have now. I think we have Matthew Selden next. Mr. Matthew Selden. Da, 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 da.
Hi, how's it going, Laurel? So,
Hi, Matthew.
so if I'm an animator, I know it's talented. So here's my question: since if you're a dancer and made dancing film called Kinetic Lights, do you know what's your opinion of seeing one of the music videos?
Seen one of the music videos? Any video in particular that you're thinking of?
Yes.
Which one would that be?
I know seen a bunch of music videos. Yeah, I think on VH1 and yeah MTV.
Okay. Yeah. So what I do and what Kinetic Light does is primarily called concert dance, where you would come to a theater and watch us, or maybe like the film that we uh, worked on with All Arts that came out earlier this week, where you would sit down and watch a longer film. Most of what you uh, most of what you see in music videos is called commercial dance, which is dance that's made to be short bites. It's made to be in that, you know, 15 or 30-second, even to 3 or 5 minute. And usually uh, it's either choreographed to a particular song, like for a music video, or, you know, like, um, you go to one of Beyonce's concerts, and the dance is there to support the song and the music, or even to support another product. So it's not the kind of dance that I do specifically, but it's all, as a dancer, as a performer, it's a very similar skill set. Commercial dance tends to use more techniques from hip hop. Sometimes you'll see breakdance or Vogue, house, often a lot of acrobatic skill. And I mean, these are all movements apply everywhere. These are all things that we go back and forth. It's just two different purposes. So you could say, we're telling stories in the theater, things that are longer, where you would sit down for a half hour or an hour for a whole story at once. And the music videos are like, little bites where it'd be here or there. But yeah, it's very similar skill. As a performer, of course, as an animator, you could easily work either in the short form or in the longer form. And there's about to be a lot more work for animators as artistic collaborators doing captioning, what we call integrated or progressive captions, where, for example, we're putting the captions in the same place as the character, or the captions are themselves animated to really reflect, to communicate the same thing that hearing people are getting from the sound. So sighted audiences get that from the captions.
Okay.
Nice. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. Now we have Devon Morgan. Hello, Devon.
When I make it shine. I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to find more best friend songs to sing for Matthew Selden. Hello, Laurel.
Laurel. You can think of it like Laurel and Hardy if it helps you remember it. Just don't tell me about it.
Okay. Well, hi there. My name is Devon. Of course, I'm Matthew's big brother. I have a question for you. I don't know how I'm gonna answer it. I started dancing when I was like, I started watching musical movies, dance movies and stuff. My question for you is that, have you seen any dance movies at all to what's like, if you've seen a dance movie that inspired you, or some dance clips that really inspired you to dance?
I honestly cannot say that I had. As I mentioned, I came to studying dance seriously when I was already in college. And by that point, it was very much about, I had no idea that this would wind up being my vocation in my career. So, and there are certainly some dance movies that I enjoyed. A little cheesy Center Stage never hurt anyone. I just dated myself, didn't I? And now the landscape is totally different with the amount of uh, fantastic filmed performance we have out there from things like the film about Pina Bausch that actually got mainstream theater release to just the things that companies are releasing every day now to TikTok. So, yeah, I cannot say that, there wasn't something where I said, that's it, I'm going to go become a dancer. It was something that happened for me very organically, and all the other skills, the musicality, the performance, um, my work and my studies in costume design, makeup design, character design, lighting and set. Can't tell you how many nights I stayed up all night doing detailed illusion set painting in college, didn't we all? So all of that fed together in combination. I mentioned I was an athlete. I played wheelchair basketball very seriously for many years. Swapped sports a few years ago, and now I play sled hockey and skate for the USA women's team as well.
That's wonderful.
Of course, dancers must have, not everyone has to be, quote, an elite athlete to be a dancer. That is not a requirement. Virtuosity can manifest in a lot of ways, whether it's in this big epic movement, the leaps and jumps, the kind of partnering work that is my personal artistic and choreographic love. But virtuosity can also manifest, in the move of a finger, in the turn of a head. So when I talk about physicality, I'm not talking about, huge athleticism, but rather the command of your style, your own physicality and embodiment, whatever that may be. And I think there's virtuosity in all levels of that. But yeah, it's, there's so much more out there now in terms of inspiration and places we can look for representation for all of us.
That's gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you, Devon. Thank you, Laurel. I think we have Manjane next. Let's see. There we go. I see a little frozen bit. Let's see. Hello, hello. Are you there? Do you see a black screen there? We might have to come back to you. You seem to be frozen. So we're gonna come back to you and then go to Mark. Mark.
Go.
Am
I? Have I got the floor now, David?
You've got the floor and the ceiling.
Okay, Laura. My name's Mark Culver, and I am a huge advocate and have passion for people with disabilities, just like I'm involved with North Regional. What?
Yeah. Hello.
Oh, is someone else talking?
Hello, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, hold on a moment. Manjane will be right with you. Right after Mark.
I'm not talking. Okay.
Okay, so as I was saying, I am a huge advocate for people with disabilities, and I love to advocate and help people. I wrote a book called Living Life with Autism, The World of My Eyes. So, and yeah, my question was, do you have an organization like North Regional to help fund the program that you're in for people with disabilities? And how could I get in contact with your organization if I want to get involved with it, Laurel?
So let me take that into two parts. We are fortunate to have a large number of organizations that help support the company and support our work, including a lot of foundations that specifically support artists and the arts. As well as, of course, private companies, individual donors. So it's really a lot of putting the pieces together and, figuring out how everything fits with all of our programs, from the professional touring work, which is presented at theaters around the country, to things like the films, the workshops we teach on accessibility, on process, on dance, on performance, or the technicals of the kind of multimedia performance we do, and into our training programs. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and we do also partner with community organizations like yours whenever we perform in communities around the country and around the world. We do extensive outreach to work with the local advocacy organizations and programs that support disabled people, to make sure that the word's getting out about the classes and the trainings that we offer, so that we make sure that, there are tickets available and there's transportation for people to come and see the performances. So we do a great deal of that. Now, to get in touch with us, Kinetic Light is on the web, of course, at kineticlight.org, Facebook/Kinetic Light, Instagram/Kinetic Light Dance. And you can reach out to all the artists of Kinetic Light right now on Instagram. We may be busy, but we're pretty friendly. So I am at Worlds of Laurel, Alice at Wheelchair Dancer, Michael for Lighting and Projections at Long Red, and Jaron at Jaron Herman. So,
Okay,
yeah,
so I just send you an email. Send you an email, I guess.
That works too.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Thank you. And now we're coming back to Manjane. Manjane,
We're here.
hello.
Hello. How you
And
doing?
you're doing Zumba right now, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Tell them about dance wheels.
Oh, I was dancing with mommy.
Dance wheels.
A dance wheel.
Did you ever hear of dance wheels?
You do your dance wheel? Who did it?
It's dancing with wheelchair. We work with the with special needs and dances, cerebral palsy at Temple for years. And it was so beautiful. It was all kinds of dance
You do
from the 30s and
dance.
40s, swing. Did you ever hear of Melinda Kramer?
No, I'm afraid I'm not familiar with her.
You might want to, it's such a beautiful dance, and they loved it. They lived for it.
You love it? What's your favorite?
What question would you have for Laurel, Manjane?
You do dancing, do you dancing wheels? Mommy's got a tempo dancing. It was great.
Do you travel to different places, to temples, to parks? Do you do it in different places or mostly in theaters?
Near the theater.
Yeah, we do mostly perform the evening length pieces in theaters. So over my professional career, I have danced just about everywhere. I have danced in both temples and churches, in parks around the country. We still frequently do site-specific work. I think our next outdoor performance will be coming up in the fall as we start to move back into live performance. But the evening length productions that we do, because of the setup that we require, for example, Descent had a stage size ramp that has to be built in a theater. Wired that we're working on now has all the rigging and aerial equipment, and our lighting and projection set requires the resources of a theater. So those shows, those shows are concert shows where you would need to go in a theater and watch them. And then we have other works that we can do outside. For example, we have a set of small portable ramps, anywhere from 3 feet to 10 feet long, that we can drag around with us and put outside and do in the parks.
Oh, that's good. You like to dance?
What?
You like to dance?
Oh, I bet.
The dance.
We should all get together and have a big dance fest is what I think. Thank you, Mom.
You're welcome. Mama's a good dancer.
And thanks to your mama. I had 2 questions to ask. First of all, where are you performing next? You said you have something scheduled for outdoors?
Well, we have a few things. We're still pinning dates down on the calendar. You know how it goes right now. Everyone's trying to
Adjust to this new life.
Trying to get things settled and in place. I know probably the people subscribed to our newsletter will be the very first to find out when those dates are. So you can sign up for that from our website, or just track us on social media. And as soon as we have those dates locked in and all the information, we'll get it out there.
Perfect. And
but that will be fall sometime.
Oh, right. The last question I did have was about your film, the 1 + 1 make 3. Where did that come from, and what is it about? For those who don't.
So it came from an invitation from the presenting organization, from All Arts. They reached out to make 3 dance films, and with the idea that choreographers would be supported in pairing up with a filmmaker of their choice and making something around the theme of past, present, and future. So it's the Past, Present, Future Festival. As I think I said earlier, it's 1 + 1 is really not a dance film. It's not a film of us dancing a piece from beginning to end. And it's not a making of film. It is really an invitation into the studio with us, into a little bit of our process, into the way that we're working from the beginning. We're working thinking about access. We work, we don't make a piece and then add access after the fact, because that doesn't result in an equitable experience. Everybody should have the same kind of rich first person experience of an artwork. And for us, that really means that all the components need to be created from first principles. So we're not making a dance and then we come along later and say, okay, and we'll translate it to this and this and this and this. We don't think there is one right way to encounter art. So if we're making a dance, well, what is a dance? Dance is not, watching a dance isn't the one true way. So we're creating this artwork using this embodied kinesthetic research. And yes, you can watch that, and that is one way to experience it. You can also listen to it. So we're creating audible, sound-based forms, because that's just as valid as watching it. We're creating projections, we're creating text. All of these things come at the same time. And our process, I think I mentioned, is incredibly collaborative, because we are, we're not only collaborating in the studio with the artists who are physically in the space, we're collaborating across time and space, and even internationally with our other artists, with our collaborating composers, and our set designers, our lighting designers, our video and sound engineers.
Right.
So yeah, it's just something that that is really where the work lives, is in the collaboration, and the work emerges from there. So yeah, the 1+1 is really, the title comes from a favorite saying of mine about creativity. So 1+1 is really an invitation to come into that process with us, right, just for a moment, to get a glimpse of what it means to be working day in and day out with this understanding and in this process of intersectional disability, to seek to amplify disability through what we do, to create the artistry that only our bodies can create.
Well,
so, yeah, there's the film in a nutshell.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to your website right after this, signing up and watching the videos. Thank you so much, Laurel. Thank you, Mona Jean. Thank you, everyone. And such a blessing to have you on here. And wow, I love it. I love it. Thank you. Here at Meet the Biz, Laurel Lawson. Thank you, Kinetic.
Thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
very much.
Laurel Lawson. Host David S. Zimmerman. With Denise Bullock, Caleb Hansen, Devon Morgan, Manajay Oliai, Mark Pulver, Ranjani Reyes, and Matthew Selvin. Special thanks, Terry Hartman Squire. ASL interpreter, Mona Jean Cedar. Laurel and Mary Claire can be found at Kinetic Lights 1+1 Make 3, can be witnessed on All Arts Past, Present, Future Dance Festival with 4 options of accessibility features. https://allarts.org/programs/www.kineticlight.org. Meet the Biz, created by David S. Zimmerman. Edited by Alexander Tovar. Meet the Biz theme music by Alexander Tovar. Meet the Biz, www.meetthebiz.net. Performing Arts Studio West, www.passtudiowest.com.